Hello everyone. Today I'll continue sharing the story about the single mother Diệu Hân. After entrusting the golden puppy to Diệu Hân for care, Thành returned home to pack his luggage. He carefully arranged his small suitcase, a few sets of clothes, some important documents, and a photo of Hân and her son that he always carried with him. This time he would only be gone for a week, yet his heart felt unusually heavy. The trip wasn't just for work. It was also an opportunity for him to personally handle several important papers related to his job transfer and a new project he was overseeing. Though the duration was short, Thành knew that even a few days away from Hân would leave him feeling strangely empty. On the morning of his departure, Hân woke up early to prepare some food for him: rice balls, fried eggs, and a few pieces of fruit. Little Tom ran up and handed him a small drawing of the three of them with the golden puppy. Beneath it were the childish words, "Uncle Thành, please come back soon. Don't forget me and Mommy Hân." Thành chuckled softly, a mix of warmth and tenderness rising in his chest. He patted Tom's head and looked toward Hân. She stood quietly, her gentle eyes carrying a trace of hesitation. "Take care and stay healthy," Hân said softly, her voice as light as the morning breeze. Thành nodded, trying to hide the emotions welling up inside. "I'll finish everything as soon as I can. I don't want you and Tom to worry." At the alley's corner, they stood in silence for a moment. The golden puppy lay obediently by Hân's feet, as if it too could sense the bittersweet farewell. When Tana's car rolled away, Hân kept watching until his figure disappeared behind the small hill. In the days following his departure, her little home remained warm and cozy, but something felt missing. Every morning as sunlight poured through the window, the golden puppy would sit at the doorstep, gazing down the narrow lane where Thành had left. Hân would smile at the sight, feeling both fondness and sympathy. Each evening after returning from the market, she would sit on the porch, sorting vegetables while telling stories to Tom. The boy often asked, "Mom, how many days until Uncle Thành comes back?" Hân gently replied, "About 5 or 6 more days, dear. When he finishes work, he'll come back to us." Tom nodded eagerly and ran off to play with the puppy. The two little companions seemed to understand each other perfectly. Whenever Tom called, "Vang oi," the dog wagged its tail and rushed to him. Watching them, Hân felt her heart fill with warmth, a peaceful feeling tinged with quiet longing. That night, her phone lit up, a message from Thành. "I've arrived safely. Everything's fine. You and Tom should sleep early, don't stay up too late." Hân smiled softly and replied, "Don't worry. We're doing fine. Vang misses you a lot." Almost immediately, he texted back, "I miss all 3 of you too." Just a few short words, yet they stirred something deep within her heart. One afternoon, while Hân was packing up her market stall, the sky suddenly broke into a heavy rain. She hurried to gather her things, while Tom clutched the puppy and ran home through the puddles. Seeing the two of them muddy but laughing, Hân suddenly realized, despite the hardships, love and warmth still filled their little home. Meanwhile, Thành arrived at his destination early the next morning. Without resting, he dove straight into work. Piles of documents, blueprints, and meetings with local partners. For several days straight, he barely had a moment to breathe, only sending Hân a few hurried messages between tasks. "I'm okay. Just a lot of work. Miss you and Tom so much." On the 5th day, Thành and a small technical team were assigned to survey a remote forest area, the planned expansion route for a new project. The forest path was wet and slippery after a night of rain, and thick fog blanketed the trail. Wanting to speed things up, he asked his team to rest while he went ahead a few hundred meters to take measurements. No one expected what happened next. As he bent down to check the map, Thành slipped, hitting his head hard on a rock. The impact was sudden and severe. He blacked out instantly, lying motionless in the depths of the forest, surrounded only by the hum of insects and the whispering wind. No one knew where he was. His phone had shattered, cutting off all communication. By a stroke of fate, that same afternoon, a young woman gathering herbs in the forest happened to pass by. Seeing a man lying unconscious, blood trickling from his forehead, she rushed over to check his breathing and then tried to carry him out. Despite her small frame, her determination and compassion gave her strength. She managed to bring him to a small wooden house by a stream, where she lived with her mother, both healers using traditional medicine. That night, she stayed by his side, tending to him without rest. She cleaned his wound, applied herbal paste, and changed the compresses to reduce his fever. The flickering oil lamp cast a soft glow on the stranger's pale face, his brow wrapped in white cloth, lips colorless, yet his features still strong and resolute. Outside, the rain continued to fall softly over the forest. Inside the humble house, the warmth of kindness quietly lit the beginning of a new destiny. A faint light filtered through the cracks of the wooden window. Tan stirred slightly. A sharp pain pierced his head as if struck by a hammer. He struggled to open his eyes. Before him was a low bamboo ceiling, the faint scent of herbal medicine in the air, and the sound of a mountain stream murmuring in the distance. He looked around in confusion. A young woman was sitting by the kitchen corner, pounding herbs. Hearing movement, she turned around. Her sun-kissed face showed both gentleness and worry. "You're awake. Thank goodness. You've been unconscious for days. I was so afraid." Tan tried to sit up, but the pain in his head made him dizzy. Who am I? Where am I?" His voice was hoarse and trembling. The woman froze for a second, then gently set down the bowl of medicine and walked closer. "You don't remember anything? I found you in the forest. You were badly injured, so I brought you back. This is my home, at the foot of White Cloud Mountain." Tan frowned, trying to piece together his memories, but everything was a foggy void. He couldn't remember his name, where he came from, or why he was there. Only a strange emptiness that unsettled him. The girl spoke softly. "Don't worry. I'm Lan. I live here with my mother. Once you've recovered, your memory might return gradually." Tan nodded weakly. His eyes filled with confusion and sorrow. Outside, the mountain rain still fell, and the mist slipped through the window, cold and damp. Yet in this little wooden house there was a quiet warmth. Lan silently replaced the warm towel and tucked the blanket around him. "Thank you, really. I don't know what to say," he murmured. Lan smiled gently. "You don't have to say anything. Just focus on living. The rest will come later." Tan closed his eyes, his thoughts hazy. Amid the emptiness of memory, a fleeting image flashed before him. A woman with kind eyes, a child smiling beside her, and then it vanished like smoke in the wind. He didn't know that far away, Dieu Hân and Tom were still waiting anxiously for news of him. It had been over a week since he left. At first, Han thought he was simply too busy to text. But as days passed, her phone remained silent. No messages, no calls. Each night, after putting Tom to bed, Han would sit by the porch, staring at her phone's glowing screen showing only one cruel line. "The subscriber cannot be reached." Every time her heart clenched. "He's probably in an area without signal. He'll call tomorrow," she whispered, trying to reassure herself. But deep inside, a growing fear was taking hold. She remembered clearly. Tan had promised to be gone only a week. Now it was the 10th day. His colleagues began to ask around. None of them had seen him since the field trip, and no one knew when he had separated from the group. A cold shiver ran down Han's spine. She started calling everywhere. Co-workers, local authorities, anyone who might know. But all she got were confused shakes of the head. That night, rain poured heavily. Han sat by the window, holding Tom, who slept soundly in her arms. The golden dog lay at her feet, occasionally barking softly toward the narrow alley, as if sensing something. Han stroked its fur and whispered, "He'll come home, right, Fang?" Outside, the storm raged. Rain lashed against the tin roof, while inside the dim light flickered across Han's tear-filled eyes. Far away in the forest cabin, Tan still lay trapped in a fog of lost memories, unaware that someone was waiting for him every hour, every minute. Days passed slowly beneath the canopy of trees. His head wound was healing, but his mind remained blank. He knew nothing except the name Wen Tan, written on a small scrap of paper found in his torn shirt, the only clue Lan could give him. Lan cared for him with quiet devotion. She brewed herbal medicine, cooked porridge, and told him stories of the mountains. Whenever his head ached, she would place warm forest leaves on his forehead, her gentle voice soothing the uncertainty within him. Gradually, a strange bond grew between them. Not love at first sight, but something quiet and unspoken, like two souls finding solace in each other's solitude. One night, Tan sat on the porch, gazing at the moonlight reflected in the stream, a hollow ache stirring in his chest. "Lan," he murmured, "sometimes I see a woman and a child, but every time I try to remember, my head hurts so much." Lan was silent for a while, then said softly, "They must be very important to you. Don't force your memory. Let it return on its own." He nodded faintly, his gaze distant. Somewhere deep inside he felt someone was waiting for him somewhere out there. Back in the small city, Dieu Hân hadn't slept for many nights. After nearly 2 weeks without contact, she decided to report it to Tana's workplace. The officials were shocked. They said the survey team had returned days ago, but no one had seen Tan with them. Some assumed he had stayed behind for personal reasons, but when Han mentioned his phone being off for days, everyone began to fear the worst. Han left the office under a drizzle, her steps heavy. Little Tom held her hand, innocently asking, "Mom, did Uncle Tan forget the way home?" Han forced a smile through her tears. "He's just busy, sweetheart. He'll come home soon." But that night, when the world grew quiet, she sat before the small altar and whispered a trembling prayer. "Please just let him be safe. As long as he's alive, I'll wait." The golden dog lay curled beside her, its eyes full of sadness, as if it too understood. One person was searching endlessly. The other was alive, yet lost within himself. Between them, time drifted like a fogged mirror, able to reflect their longing, but powerless to reconnect their souls. Outside the forest, flocks of birds began their migration south, heralding the end of the rainy season. Perhaps fate was preparing to open a new path, where their two distant worlds would finally meet again. Morning in the mountains was unlike anywhere else. The sound of trickling water from the stream, birds calling through the forest, and the faint scent of wood smoke drifted in the misty dawn air. Tan had slowly grown accustomed to this peaceful rhythm, a life far removed from the city's noise, from endless work reports and project plans. Here, only the quiet passage of time remained. He stayed in Lan's small wooden house, built from pine, roofed with palm leaves, nestled by a crystal-clear stream. Lan and her mother lived simply. By day they gathered forest herbs. By night they cooked over a fire and sometimes told stories about travelers lost in the mountains who had been rescued by the villagers. Lan took care of Tan with gentle precision. Every morning, she brought him a steaming bowl of porridge, reminded him to take his medicine, and went down to the stream to wash clothes. Tan often offered to help, but she only smiled. "You're still weak. Just rest and recover." On rainy days, Lan would light the fire, placing a pot of fragrant forest vegetable soup over the coals. Tan sat quietly in the corner watching her. Every movement she made was graceful and kind, and something about it stirred a strange sense of familiarity, as if he had seen this image somewhere before. That evening, when Lan brought him a blanket, he said softly, "I'm really lucky. If it weren't for you, I wouldn't be here now." Lan smiled. "Just think of yourself as part of the family. The mountains never abandon anyone." That night, as the rain pattered on the roof, Tan had a vivid dream. He was standing before a small house. A woman smiled at him kindly and a little boy called out, "Uncle Ton." The voice was so clear and real that he jolted awake. But when he opened his eyes, there was only darkness and the sound of the stream outside. He pressed a hand to his aching forehead, a hollow ache rising inside him, as if something important was waiting to be remembered, hidden behind the fog of his lost memory. Nearly a month had passed since the day Ton left home. Every morning Han looked at her phone, hoping to see a message, a call, even just a few short words. But the silence was unbearable. By day, she forced herself to keep working, smiling at customers in the market, though her heart never truly rested. Each time someone called out, "Miss Han," she flinched, thinking it might be his voice. At night, when lights lit up the narrow alley, Han sat by the window, holding the golden dog in her arms. The streetlight spilled through the frame, casting a soft glow on her weary face and tear-reddened eyes. "Where have you gone? Why haven't you said a word?" she whispered tremblingly to the quiet night. When storms came, thunder made her heart pound harder, afraid that somewhere far away, he might be in danger, afraid that his promise of just 1 week would never come true. Little Tom, still innocent, drew pictures each evening, Uncle Ton working far away. He proudly showed them to his mother. "Uncle Ton is coming home soon, Mommy. I dreamed he was smiling at me." Han smiled faintly, tears sliding down her cheeks before she could wipe them away. Sometimes she picked up her phone and reread the old messages, simple lines that now cut deep. "I've arrived safely. Miss you and Tom. Are you asleep? It's cold here tonight." Now every word felt like a blade twisting in her chest. Whenever a motorbike stopped at the alley's entrance, her heart leapt and her eyes darted toward the door, only to find a deliverman or a passerby. At night, she folded her hands, praying silently, "Please, Heaven, have mercy. Keep him safe. I don't ask for anything else, only that he's still alive." On the porch, the golden dog lifted its head and let out a low, mournful howl. The sound echoed through the rain-soaked night, tightening the ache in her heart. A longing, a premonition, and a quiet, steadfast love kept Han awake through each endless night.
Xin chào mọi người, rất vui được gặp lại mọi người trong video của mình. Chúc mọi người có một ngày vui vẻ và hạnh phúc. Hy vọng rằng mọi người sẽ có một ngày làm việc tràn đầy năng lượng. Và mình rất là cảm ơn mọi người đã đồng hành cùng kênh của mình trong suốt thời gian qua. Hiện tại thì kênh của mình vẫn đang kể về câu chuyện của người mẹ đơn thân Diệu Hân và những biến cố mà Diệu Hân phải gặp phải. Ở những tập tiếp theo thì sẽ tập trung về câu chuyện của Hân và Thành. Tình cảm của hai người càng ngày càng gắn bó và khăng khít với nhau. Nhưng biến cố đã xảy ra với hai người, liệu rằng tình yêu có chớm nở và có đi đến thành quả hay không thì mời mọi người đón xem vào video tiếp theo nha. Các mọi người đã ủng hộ video của mình, rất mong được gặp lại mọi người ở video lần sau. Xin chào và hẹn gặp lại mọi người nha.